really wish we could get that video fixed, but hey, better lucky than never. Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Inside the Nightcap podcast. I am your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Extremely excited to get back at it once again, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot to talk about today on CF on today's Inside the Huddle. Got a lot to talk about, man. Quinshon Judkins to the NFL draft. I just got the most random text message from, I don't know if you guys remember Judkins Green. It's just like, bro. Okay, cool. All right, bye-bye. Anyway, welcome on into the college football nightcap, ladies and gentlemen. I am your, or not nightcap, Inside the Huddle, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Lucas Hill. Got a lot to bring you today's podcast. We have a good bit to discuss. We obviously got to talk about and recap a bit of what happened over the CFP. We got to talk about every first-round exit team. So that's your Tennessees, your Boise State, or not your Boise States, but your Tennessees, your SMUs, your Indianas, your, what are they on? And your Clemsons. We got to talk about all that, ladies and gentlemen, and really excited for this, really excited to get started, really excited to talk about this. But let me tell you guys something. It's so funny to me in this day in college, and this day in the NFL, where owners are so stubborn that we're only limiting ourselves to only get a few candidates, specifically when it comes to the freaking Cowboys. So instead of going out and venturing out for another OC from another college, from another conference, or something else like that, you know what we decide to do? We decide to freaking hire Brian freaking Schottenheimer. And look, I love Brian Schottenheimer, son of Marty. I love Marty Schottenheimer, who I thought has – Brian Schottenheimer's been around the game of football for a very long time. Was with his dad as the quarterback's coach in San Diego, then was with the Jets for a little while, then went to the Rams as your OC, then went to Georgia for one season before getting back into the NFL. Spent some time in Indianapolis as the QB's coach, then was with Seattle for the last few years with Russell Wilson was there. You got them whenever he was in Jacksonville. Was also a coaching analyst with the Cowboys, and now it looks like he will become the brand new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I can tell you right now, this is not going to end well. If you're going to sit here and tell me that Brian Schottenheimer is the guy, you are insane. I just do not believe it one bit. You can not like what I have to say about it. That is completely fine. But here's the reality of this. You're hiring internally after you just fired a guy that was your head coach, but you're going to keep around his offensive coordinator that he brought with him. And that's just fine. That makes perfect sense, Jerry. Good job. Guess what? You blew it at the end of the day. So you have nobody else to blame but the guy in the freaking mirror. So enough of that. That's enough of my NFL rant for today. Let's go ahead and let's talk about each team that made the CFP but was bounced out in the first round. Let's first of all talk about our good friends over in Dallas and SMU. Look, heck of a season they had last year. I think a lot of people doubted them, especially with strength of schedule not being that great. It obviously was not favorable for them, knowing that they had that. And I think a lot of people in the media really bashed them for it. But if we're being honest with ourselves, this was a dang good roster. You knew that Rhett Lashley had to make a change at quarterback, and you didn't want to initially. But I think you had a feeling that Preston Stone was not going to be the guy at the end of the day. You know, and it sucks. You know? And look, they've been getting plenty of playing time between the two. But the fact of the matter is that Kevin Jennings was much better fitted in the Rhett Lashley offense. And when you look at some of Rhett Lashley's most notable quarterbacks that he's had quite a bit. He was with Nick Marshall and company whenever they were at Auburn. All right. We know about all that. He's been with Gus Malzahn for a very long time. I think almost every year except one, up until he got the OC job at UConn, was when he wasn't with Lashley. And that was for a brief period whenever he was at Auburn. And so he started off during the 2006 to 2008 tenure. He was initially invited to join Malzahn's staff. So he left coaching and remained in Northwest Arkansas, and he and his brother-in-law wrote High School Sports, the magazine, made relationships, was a volunteer quarterbacks coach, and then ended up getting an opportunity to go back to coaching with Auburn. So he's been around the Malzahn era for a very long time. And Gus Malzahn is all about the option spread offense, one that favors a guy like Cam Newton, one that's going to favor a guy like Nick Marshall. And that's where you are going to see the majority of your success at. And if we're being honest, Preston Stone didn't fit that. Preston Stone was more of a drop-back passer. He was not going to run the football a lot. And even when he did, he was injury prone. It didn't work out for him at the end of the day. So I think it's good they made the switch from Stone to Lashley, or from Stone to Kevin Jennings, because that's one that really kind of saved their season. And I think it was a smart decision for Preston Stone to enter the NFL or enter the transfer portal to go somewhere where he would be more successful as a drop back passer. Jennings is more wide open. He can utilize his legs often. He can get out of the pocket when need be. Very accurate with the football, and that's what you need for a guy like that. You know, and look, wherever Preston Stone goes, I will continue. I know he's going to be at Northwestern. We'll see what he does there, but I know that it's still going to be a struggle for him going into the Zach Lujan offense. Was with South Dakota State for a while last year, 4-8. But I think that offense fits him. Spread offense where it's going to be more wide open for him. He can drop back, throw the football down the field. But the problem is he's going to have to need weapons, and Northwestern is not one of those teams that has those weapons. So make no mistake, it's going to be a struggle, but we'll just have to see, man. I mean, there's still a lot to look forward to from him. All right, let's continue on. Kevin Jennings, whenever he gets back from the portal, all right, the problem with him is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get back into the CFP contention. You're going to lose Rashad Smith. You're going to lose your top 2 receivers in Roderick Daniels and Quinshon Smith. You're also going to lose Elijah Roberts and Jared Harrison Hunty. But you bring in Tyler Van Dyke, who should bring a bit of competition to him. But I wouldn't say that, but it brings you more of a backup role in case Jennings does end up getting hurt. You bring in Addison Nichols from Arkansas, who I thought was one of the best centers in the portal. So that's a big get for the boys out in Dallas, as well as getting DJ Warner from Kansas, who, let me tell you a little bit about DJ Warner. Dude's a stud. Dude is a really, really good edge rusher. I mean, the guy he's good off the edge. I mean, you're talking about 33-inch arms whenever he was at the All-American Bowl. So he has a lot of leanness to him. He has a lot of length. He has a lot of bend to him. So there's a lot that you're going to look forward to. And the thing about him is that he's a young guy. He's got plenty of talent. I think that if he plays more, he's going to have more opportunities at SMU. And I think when you plug him in, he'll be, I wouldn't say he'll be close to home, but I think that he'll definitely be in a better spot knowing that this is going to be a better situation for him being in this defense, that I think you can plug him in and he can be an instant star in the ACC. So let's talk about what other quarterback he's going to get. Look, the wide receiver room is going to be mid at best. I know that it's definitely going to cause some concern for teams, but you still got the spring portal that you can to get guys. High school-wise, you've been pretty consistent, but you still got a lot of work to do. Make no mistake about that. There is still work to be done at the receiver room. I think you can develop those guys. I think if need be, you can dial it down some and make Jennings more of your option queue. Because, I mean, that's what Auburn had to do with Jeremy Johnson and Sean White in 2014 and 2015. They didn't really have that much at the receiver position. So what do? They simplified it. And because of that, they got in a guy like Tyler Van Dyke from the portal so that if Jennings does struggle adjusting without elite receivers and without your top 2 guys, because Nick Marshall suffered the same thing, but you got to get a guy that can run this offense. And I think that with a guy like Kevin Jennings, he comes in, he knows the offense already. I think Van Dyke's going to be right behind him. He's going to be able to adjust pretty quickly. And I think both guys are going to have a lot of success down the road being able to adjust into this offense. So with that, let's go ahead and move on a little bit to our next team. And that is the Volunteers. Look, there is a lot that is going to be talked about when it comes to Tennessee. I'll say this. You got some big-time recruits. You got some big-time portal dudes coming in, especially on that offensive line. I mean, you got Sam Pendleton from Notre Dame, I think, is a solid at offensive lineman. He's going to be one of those guys that you could plug in at the guard position, or he could be the one that replaces Cooper Mays at that center position as well. I think this season is very, very interesting in terms of where Tennessee is as a program for many reasons. One, this is a season about where Tennessee's ceiling is. So we don't really know specifically where Tennessee is at this point in time. We don't know if they are a legitimate, true playoff threat to go on a deep run. Maybe go make a semifinal run or even make a national championship at some point over the next 5 years or so. The thing about Tennessee is that last year was pretty underwhelming, shall we say, because of what you guys had. Tennessee had all the tools for a deep playoff run. But I think that whole season just went by and it was such a drag. The defense had to pick up a lot of slack that the offense left behind. The offensive line breakdown was very, very mid at best. And with that comes with a problem. Is that you didn't see Nico Iamaleava really become comfortable in the pocket, especially in big games down the road. The guy got sacked 28 times this year. So to put that in perspective, they played, 12 games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, 13 games. So you're talking about 2 sacks a game against what was supposed to be a Joe Moore type award-winning offensive line. Well, unfortunately, because of the underwhelming performance that they had throughout that season, it was a rough stretch for them for a while. I know there was a stretch in between the Oklahoma game and the end of the season. I mean, it was rough. I'll be honest with you. Guys, Nico Iamaleava got sacked 3 times a game between the Oklahoma game and beyond. Before that, he was sacked only once. Now, granted, it's against Chattanooga, Kent State, and North Carolina State. But you saw a lot of what was a big weakness for Tennessee really get exposed, especially against Ohio State. When Nico Iamaleava doesn't have the protection that he needs, that's when things start to break down, and that's when he starts to use his wheels. And with him, that's not a typical running quarterback, if we're being honest. Look, Nico ran a lot. Make no mistake about that. 109 attempts, but kind of takes away the yardage when you get sacked 28 times. Had a QB rating of 70.5, which is okay, but it's not where you would have expected him to be at, especially with all the hype that he had going into this year. So I think we have to be real with ourselves and see and really realize that this could very well be Tennessee's ceiling, is being a 10-win team during the regular season and just barely getting into the CFP, maybe even hosting a playoff game, and then boom, you get bounced in the first round. It doesn't help Josh Heupel's legacy knowing that in big games, Heupel has yet to win on the road that you have needed in order to be somewhat successful. So when will it happen? When are we going to look at each other and say, okay, things are getting better in the Tennessee era? We're getting past the point of, okay, we're accepting 10-win season. No, at Tennessee, you want to win a national championship. That's the thing. Because The offense, ever since Alex Golish left, it's kind of been a problem. Because ever since Golish left, that was more of a spread RPO offense. And ever since Heupel left, you bring in Joey Hazel or Halsey, who, look, plug-in quarterback coach with Tennessee. But is he the guy? Is he really? I don't know. But regardless, this offense has changed drastically. And I think that Heupel has taken more of that play calling role, to be honest with you. The thing about 2021 is that was just the building blocks of what you were going to expect down the road from them. But it wasn't one that you could look at and say, okay, we have what we need to succeed. You didn't. I mean, it's freaking Tennessee of all places that over the last decade in the 2010s was not a very successful team, was not a program, very mid, hadn't had a 10-win season since 2007. Philip Fulmer's second to last season. And maybe this could be the year. Maybe we could be looking at them too harshly. But of course you're going to have to address the defense. You're losing a first-round draft pick in James Pierce Jr. You're losing a good bit of your linebacking core. Your secondary got absolutely shellacked. Last year, you had one of the worst pass defenses in the SEC. So how do you address that? We obviously got to go into the portal. And we'll see. But back to Josh Heupel's on-the-road record in big games. It's not really that great. And going up against top 25 teams on the road. We're talking on the road. Okay? Ever since he's been at Tennessee. You can make an exception for 2021 because you were just accumulating the building blocks for what was to come there. But overall, not really that successful. Not really successful in games that mattered most. I mean, it's hard to imagine when you're 3-10 in games on the road when it matters most, in primetime games. Unacceptable. 2 of those came in the first 2 years. Ever since then, you were what 1-7, 1-6 or 1-7 since then. You cannot accept that and be able to call yourselves college football playoff contenders if you're putting up this type of performance. Sure, you can get away with the occasional win over Alabama at home at Neyland Stadium, but when are you going to beat Georgia? When are you going to finally get over the hump over in Florida? When are you finally going to get over that hump? On the road of all places. You haven't beaten Florida at Ben Hill Griffin since I think 2000 and it's been a while, I'll say that. You haven't beat Florida in Gainesville since 2003. You cannot accept it. They didn't accept it when Philip Fulmer had his great season and won the national championship. After that, it was just years of mediocrity. So you think that they're going to accept the same thing from Josh Heupel? They're not. They didn't do it with Butch Jones or with Jeremy. What's his name? Jeremy Pruitt. Excuse me. Anyways. They didn't get away. They didn't get away with that. I can promise you that. And if you think they did, you're a damn liar. So, when are we going to accept the fact that this could potentially be Tennessee's ceiling? I don't know, man. When are you going to finally get that notable win on the road? You haven't been in Alabama and Tuscaloosa since 2005. The last time you beat Alabama on the road was 2003. That's how bad you have been in big-time games on the road. There just has to be a point where Florida fan or where Tennessee fans need to and say, look, Josh, what you've done over the last 5 on the map, but tired of this. We're tired of these 9, 10-win seasons. We're tired of it. So when are you finally going to accept the fact that this team still has a lot of work to do, and it's going to take a while for them to get to, and you need to dominate the portal in order to get yourself back in this situation. Look, you bring back Chris Brazel, you lose Brew McCoy Brazel to me has to be wide receiver 1. You got to go get another guy. You got to go address your tight end. You got to go address the running back, Dylan Sampson. You got to address a lot of things, bro. I don't think Tennessee is the top 10 team. I don't even consider them a top 15 team. 17, 18, maybe. Lowest I'll put them is probably 22. But I still think Tennessee is a dark horse to get back to the college football playoff simply because of what I like from Nico and what I think he can do at the next level and what I think he can do to enhance his game. He's in a good system. He just has to be surrounded by talent. He's got to have a good offensive line. You can't have that mid-game stretch where you're giving up 3-4 sacks a game. In SEC play of all things, you can't have that. You just cannot. You cannot accept that at this point. And so that's why I think getting a guy like Sam Pendleton helps you. You increase your depth on the offensive line. You get a guy that can replace Cooper Mays. And you just need dudes. Bottom line. That is what is being made. Because, guys, look, at the end of the day, you are going to be able – are you going to be able to put your team in a good situation at the end of the day? Sure hope so. But I promise you, it needs to happen soon. Guys, I know it's a little short show today, but I'm going to cut it short today. We just wanted to get on here for about 30 minutes or so and just kind of briefly discuss the CFP teams. Like, no Inside the Huddle tomorrow. We'll be back Monday night. I think. Yeah. We'll be remote on Monday. We'll be coming to you live from school. I'll be going back to school on Monday. So excited for that. Yay. Back to regular programming when we get back, guys. Really excited to get into a more in-depth look. We'll preview everything that happened in NFC Championship weekend, preview the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Going to be a good one. See you guys there. Peace.